Welcome back to Project Breakthroughs. I'm David Dubé. In this episode, I want to talk about achievement when it comes to breaking past our capacities. We have 5 different areas or buckets of capacity in our lives, and most of us don't realize that we have these capacities, or we don't think of them as capacities at all. We just go about our day and it's just there on the back shelf. And it doesn't become an awareness of anything to us until maybe someone like me points it out. So the 5 areas of capacity in which we have. The first area is that of physical capacity. You and I have a capacity for our physical strength, our physical well-being, where we can only take so much. We can only take so much physical pain. We can only take so much physical exertion before we are wiped out. You know, I'm sure there's been a time in your life where you maybe went on a really long journey, or you went camping and several days, or on a hike, or you went to the gym and you worked out so hard that when you got home, you kind of just collapsed. You know, I can recall many situations where I have had similar situations to that, similar things happen to that, where I've gone to the gym, worked out so hard that when I got home, I literally was just out. Or long hiking journeys where once I got home, I was so exhausted I had to sleep. Right, so you have this capacity, your body has this physical exertion capacity. And I know now you've probably heard of, you know, especially runners, you heard about the runner's wall, where someone who does marathons or is practicing for a marathon, they get to like mile 14 and they hit this wall where it's like they can't go on. They can't go any further. But they know, and experts have talked about, you have this wall that once you break that barrier down on that wall, your capacity goes through the roof. And your ability then to finish and have that runner's high comes in. And so we have these barriers or these walls that we have put up ourselves. It's not a real wall. It's not a real thing. It's an imaginary one. It's one where you feel like you can't go on. Now, there are instances where you must go on. You have to go on. And there are so many different situations where we've heard of people coming to that wall, whether it is physical, and then one of the other ones would be mental wall, and another is emotional wall, social wall, and the fifth and last one is spiritual wall. So we have capacities in all of these areas, and we believe that we can only go so far. Now, with all of those areas, it takes training. It takes, it's muscle. So the physical one, like if you haven't been to the gym in years and you finally go back to the gym and you start to lift weights, the amount of energy you'll be able to exert and not feel exhausted afterwards is small in comparison to someone who's been going to the gym for 3 weeks, 3 months, right? 3 years. So you have to build that muscle up in order to get to the point where that barrier that's there is easily broken. And most of us are weak. We're weak in all of these areas. We're weak physically, we're weak emotionally, we're weak mentally, we're weak socially, and we're weak physically. The pandemic has taught us that social constriction. It taught me specifically. Like I remember an interaction I had when, you know, things were reopening up. I went out and I was invited to meet some new people. And I remember leaving that situation going, like, I felt so off from how I normally would interact with people I was just meeting. I felt so off. It felt so foreign to me. And the reason it felt so foreign is because I hadn't done it in 2 years. So having the ability to meet and interact with someone new and have, like, I remember talking with my friend afterwards, and she was like, yeah, it was great. You know, her experience of it was different than mine because her experience of me meeting new people wasn't nearly the same as me and my experience of meeting new people and knowing how I am around new people. So she didn't see the limitation in which I saw because I hadn't interacted with new people in such a long time. And so our capacities need to be exercised. And the only way to exercise them is to experience more things, more physical things, more mental things, more social things, more emotional things, and more spiritual things. To have our muscles expanded and contracted and expanded and contracted so we can then have more capability and more capacity for new things in our lives. The other thing that so in talking about capacity, most people are very limited in all of those areas right now, like specifically right now. And for so many different reasons. So many of us are still sheltered for the most part when it comes to, the world opening back up and experiencing life and new people again and having fresh interactions, like forced interactions. How many forced interactions have you had? And what do I mean by forced interactions? Like, you don't have to leave your house. So there's one step to it. You don't have to open your mouth to a stranger. There's a second part to it. It's literally, you have to force yourself to have stranger interactions with people you do not know in order to build that muscle again. And the thing is like, when you first do it, it feels, it might feel so foreign to you, and you might feel shyness. Now, shyness isn't something you were born with. No one's born with shyness. Now, if you're an introvert, yeah, that might be something that's just naturally a part of your personality and who you are, but shyness is not who you are, right? Introversion might be, but shyness isn't. And there's a scale of, introversion and extroversion, where on that scale, you're somewhere between super introverted and super extroverted. All of us are. We all share some of both of those, but some of us are more extroverted than others, and some of us are more introverted than others. And the idea is, just because you're one way, it's like you have a certain body type. There are several different body types out there, and when you know your body type, you can then find the exercises that are right for your body type. So then if your goal is to lose fat or lose weight or gain muscle, you'll know what to do based on your body type specifically, right? It's similar to if you're French or Italian. There's often characteristics with each of those individuals because through generations, those things have been, passed on to the next generation, right? If you're Native American, you probably have troubles growing facial hair. And like me, even though I'm 1/16th, I obviously have a lot of other things in me that enable me to grow facial hair. But the idea is like your genetics also have a part to do with your body type and how you lose or gain weight and gain mass and all these other things. So what I'm talking about is learning your capacities for those things and then expanding those things. Because your capacity right now is smaller than it probably has ever been, all because of the last so many years we've gone through and also the things they're trying to pile onto us now. But you are capable of more, you just have to push yourself into that capability. And that's really what this is all about. So physically, like, I could talk at length about physicality because I saw and I have seen not only my people I love and care about, like who were physically fine, but never went to the gym, never exercised, or at least hadn't in like 20 years. And then at some point in time, their life just gave out. I saw my mom deteriorate. It was one of the worst sights I've ever had to watch over the course of several months as she literally died in front of me. And that's something that we can prevent. You can prevent by doing the right things today so that later on you're healthy. Your capacity for health goes up the more you exercise. And it's powerful. It's great things that happen for you by doing just the simplest things. And you don't have to start off like going to the gym and lifting weights. That is one of the best ways to do it, but you can start off by walking several miles a day and then adding to those miles as you go, and then maybe carrying 5-pound weights with you and then doing some arm exercises, or buying some bands and doing some band exercises as well. The stretchy bands that, like, it's like lifting 40 pounds by using bands instead of free weights. But the idea is you can start doing something today to expand your capacity for physicality. And it only helps you in the long run. And I go out in the world, as do you, and you see people who are in their 30s and 40s rolling around in those carts at, Walmart, Target, the grocery store. And I'm thinking to myself, if you are, in your 30s and 40s and you're already requiring a cart to get around, you are doomed. And it blows my mind. So mentally, we have capacity as well. You go through a day, some of us don't have physical labor jobs. And our job requires us to be there mentally, to digest and solve problems mentally. And you have a capacity for how much of that you can withstand, because doing that, just like doing something physical, still burns calories. And so when you get home after doing that, you can feel burned out. Now, there's ways to expand your mental capacities, and a lot of that has to do with like learning new things, reading new things, experiencing new things. And then along with that is not being so attached to things. What do I mean by not attached to things? This leads into the emotional capacities in which we have as well. Not being so attached to things. We have what's called beliefs. Our beliefs, they guard us, but they also create barriers for us. Our beliefs are a capacity for us to live within, and not something that typically expands us into new grounds. So the idea behind beliefs is limit your beliefs, meaning don't believe so many things. I'll give you a good idea or an example of this. Is the earth flat or is it round? What is it? Do you know? And I know people who will literally die arguing their belief of whether the earth is flat or round. They would rather die than accept the reality or the truth. But here's the reality and the truth of it. I've never seen it for myself. And we know that, like, you hear Tyson, I can't think the gentleman's name, talk about what the earth is shaped like. And he's like, it's more like a pear shape than it is round. But every time you see Earth from space, the view that they want you to see, Earth looks round. It looks perfectly round. But is it? We're told it's not, but then it is. And then NASA says that they've photoshopped literally every image you've ever seen of the planet Earth from space. They say they've photoshopped it. I'm not saying it's flat either, but I don't know how round or what kind of round it is. I don't know. And so it behooves me, meaning it's stupid of me, to hold on to either one of those ideas as if my life depended on it. Because I'll be honest, my life does not depend on whether the fact the earth is flat or round. It doesn't. It does not matter to me. And if you're passionate about it being one way over another, that's great. That's awesome. Good for you. It literally affects me that much. Doesn't affect me at all. And the reason is because, A, I have never seen it for myself. And when I do, for myself, not being someone else brought a camera up there and decided that the way that camera shows it is the way I should believe it. I need to see it for myself. Till then, there's no reason to believe anything about it or to care that much about it, that it should literally affect my life and I should die believing one way. I shouldn't. So being open to the idea that it could be flat or round enables me to literally be open to everything and anything. The possibilities become endless as soon as I don't attach myself to one belief. So the idea that money doesn't grow on trees is attaching yourself to a belief structure. But then you heard money is just energy. Well, you have to decide, what is it for you? Or is it neither of those things? You can decide that. And that belief can set you free. It can enable you to achieve more in a shorter period of time because you're not attached to any one of those things. The reason you are where you are is because of a belief structure. There's a structure in place in your life that you're beholden to, that limits you to seeing the opportunity that's all around you, that's there for you to take and do what you will to get what you want. So your mental capacity and emotional capacity are very closely related. And in some cases, your physical capacity too, because how you feel about something, how you feel about it, that's your choice of a belief, tells you how tired you're going to tell yourself you are. Oh, I'm so blah, blah, blah. Well, whatever it is, if I'm so tired or I'm so full of energy, that's you affirming to yourself that that's what you have available to you. That's you allowing the limiting beliefs in which you hold to either expand you or contract you. And we do this all of the time. Capacity. So the way you think and how you believe and how you feel all have to do with capacity. And so if you open your capacity up, you expand your abilities in life in all areas. Social capacity. You ever been in a room with a lot of people? And especially if you're an introvert, it takes less time for you to be like, I need to just crawl into a cave and be alone for 2 weeks or a month or a year or the rest of my life. We all have that capacity. But once again, it's a muscle that can be exercised. So if you haven't been around people a lot, or you haven't been around new people that you've had to interact with, my recommendation is to go out and interact. That's what my recommendation is. Meet new people. Do that. Expand that capacity. The more people you know. If for some reason, the wealthy know this way more than the poor. Opportunity and money and wealth is more or less brought to you by the people you know already that are in your network than any other way possible. It's not what you know, it's who you know, because you probably know someone who's either a shitty person or you're like, how does this person do it? How do they make that money? And they don't seem all there mentally. It's because of who they know. It's less of what they know and more of who they know. And sometimes what they know led to who they know, which led to opportunities. But the idea is you can't get there if you keep your capacity and you keep yourself limited to those that you already know. You must expand that. And then lastly is the spiritual capacity. And the spiritual comes down to, once again, beliefs. What you believe, how you believe it, and what you're attached to with your beliefs. The fewer things you attach yourself to, the more possibility there is for you to have anything and everything you want in your life. Capacity. By removing the capacities that you've set for yourself is where the opportunity lies for you to have more, to be more, and to do more. With that being said, I'm David Dubé with Project Breakthroughs, and I look forward to catching you in the next episode. Take care.